Thanks for being here. My name is Cindy Terrell, and I come to you with a background in Ayurveda as well as a couple of the other traditional nutrition coaching practices from Precision Nutrition and Journey of Intrinsic Health. And what really led me down this path is a couple of different things. The initial desire to do nutrition coaching came from the fact that I had been an avid CrossFitter for like 10 plus years. And it was during that experience that I was introduced to nutrition coaching. I had gotten some great results just by starting CrossFit and wanted to really look like I was doing the amount of workouts that I was doing. So the nutrition coach helped me attain that. But after about 10 years of doing that, I suddenly started gaining weight and I hadn't really changed anything. So I thought. Um, and even, this is after my training. So even though I knew what to do and, had the practical applications for everything, what had worked in the past wasn't working anymore. So I got very frustrated. And I ended up doing some research and I ended up hiring a nutrition coach that specialized in the menopause arena and learned a lot of things. One of the biggest things that came to light for me was the fact that most, if not all, the nutrition information out there that you see on the mainstream platforms and that the influencers are using has been done on the male body, which does not have the hormonal issues that we women have. So that's problem number one. So anybody following, those really extreme habits know that they've done that on the male physique. It stresses the female body at the stage more than we realize, and it kind of exacerbates all the symptoms that we might suffer from. And the other thing that I learned was that the amount of exercise I was doing was too much. I was really stressing my body. I loved CrossFit. I no longer do it just because I had that type of personality. I'm not able to dial that. So I had to walk away from it. I still do strength training and stuff like that, but doing the actual CrossFit, I mean, I just can't. I'm just too wired to push my bodies. And that is the last thing that you want to be doing at this stage for numerous reasons, which we'll go into in a little bit. But the other thing that led me to this, also, I go back to my original experience when I was in perimenopause, and I had just started a new job. I come from a supply chain arena background, and I had just started a new job, moved to a new state. And if anyone is familiar with supply chain, it is a high pressure, juggling a lot of different activities all at one time. You're making a lot of decisions on your feet. And it was an environment that I always thrived in until I didn't. And it was one of those situations where I would walk into my office, excuse me, and would sit there and not know where to start. I was in complete overwhelm and I didn't know what was happening at the time. I had no idea that that was a perimenopausal symptom at the time until I started doing my own research. Because it was crippling me from performing my job duties, I ended up going to see a physician to see what they could do for me. And against my better judgment, because I've always been a natural remedies kind of a person, I went on an antidepressant. And unfortunately for me, that led me to having one of the severe reactions that one can get from this particular thing that I was on, which I don't even remember what the name of it was. So my next option was doing HRT, which was a patch that I had to put on my stomach, which wasn't a horrible thing, except that eventually the patch started becoming itchy, even though you move it around. And again, I'm into natural remedies. So I was fortunate enough to meet somebody who specialized in helping women navigate many perimenopause and menopause naturally. So she helped me get off the medication, and I'm happy to report that ever since then, I've been on my natural healing journey without medication from the menopausal standpoint. So so anyway, that's how I got to be where I am today as far as helping other women. If I can just help other women understand that the power is within them, if you apply the right principles, to navigate this stage of life naturally, vibrant, you can feel great, and make it the best chapter of your life. So that's what I like to share with people is it can be your best chapter because gosh, you don't have that monthly interruption all the time that you have to plan around. So so what I've done over the years is I've come up with a 5 pillar system that I work with women to help improve this stage of life. And my first pillar that I work with is sleep. Sleep is one of those things that I don't care who you are. If you are not getting proper sleep, you probably need to revisit that. And here's the reason why. Sleep is, you can think of it as upgrading or restoring your operating system. You're going through the day, you have things that your body needs to process, and there's some things that your body needs to process only during sleep. So when you circumvent that process, things start building up in the system. And I believe that it actually is one of the contributing factors to brain fog that a lot of women are going through. I mean, I just take myself for example. I just remember I just was always pushing. And, if I was doing 6 hours of sleep a night, I felt like I was doing a good job until I've learned what I know now. When you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to have more cravings. And one of those cravings that you're going to have is carbs. Not that carbs are bad if you're making the right choices, but if that's all you're eating, that's a problem and it's going to add to weight gain. And it's also going to help increase mood swings and stuff like that. So sleep is not only your rest, it's your restoration, it's your recovery, it's your housekeeping. So, how can you improve your sleep? One of the best methods and easiest methods for sleep improvement is just create a consistent bedtime. That was something I know I personally didn't do early on, didn't know that didn't really matter. I mean, I was one of those, you had the work week, you went to bed and got up at a certain time during the work week. The weekends were your days to sleep in and go to bed really late and get up really late. And so your body's all over the place. Believe it or not, even though our brain is telling us our body, can live with all these inconsistencies, the body does best when you have a consistent schedule. So that means pick a bedtime, keep it 7 days a week, keep a wake up time, and keep it 7 days a week. And you'd be amazed at how much your sleep will improve over time. The other thing to consider with that is having a what you call wind down time. So this is just another way to signal to your body that it's time to go into the rest mode. So it can be as simple as turning the lights down is a great way to do it. Getting off the electronics and the screens is a really wonderful thing to do as well. Some say 30 minutes, some say 60 minutes. I say just what you're comfortable doing. Just get off the screen as soon as possible. And that might be something that you develop over time as far as how much time you're taking. But the lowering of the lights is a really great way to do it. Another thing to keep in mind too, so that you maximize the housekeeping of your sleep, is make sure that you're not eating within 3 hours before you go to bed. The last thing you want your body to be doing is worrying about the digestion of the meal that you just got done eating. So I recommend people take at least 3, possibly 4 hours. I personally stop eating before the sun goes down, especially this time of year. But there's several hours before I go to bed that I have nothing on my stomach. And the other key to help sleep is that last meal of the day. I'm not saying don't have zero carbs, but that meal is really best if you just keep it with a protein and say vegetables. So that's on a lower carb arena. And that seems to help. My observation has been, since I've been doing that, is I don't have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And it does allow me to sleep much more soundly, having, first of all, a lighter meal and just keeping it to the protein and the vegetable aspect of food. The other thing, if you have problems with your circadian rhythm, is you want to take a walk in, if you can get out into the morning sunlight, that is a really great way to help reset your circadian rhythm in your body. Your body loves the sunlight. And that doesn't mean look at it through a window, because actually it's being filtered. The rays that the sun is giving off at that time of day is something that your eyes utilize to bring signals to the brain and puts everything back into equilibrium. So I'm going to share what I do in the morning. I take, I work out 3 days a week. And what I do is after my workout or before a walk, I walk on the opposite days, although I walk every day, um, is I take a chair and I sit it outside. I have a journal that I work with. I have no shoes on my feet, so my bare feet are on the ground. It's called earthing. And that too is another way to help your body. It helps with inflammation over time, but it resets things in the nervous system because the earth has some wonderful healing properties that the body needs. So, all that to say, the more time you spend outside, better off you're going to be. One of my other pillars is all about movement. As I mentioned, I do work out. I do have a strength training program, and I do walking. I don't really do much beyond that. And believe it or not, I only do 30 minutes of strength training 3 days a week, sometimes four. And then I walk every day for 30 minutes. But I'm also looking throughout the day to keep to keep my body moving. But those are my intentional um, exercise activities. Movement is really important because the body's made to move. And as I mentioned earlier, I stopped doing CrossFit because the intensity on that was just too much for me. And everybody's different, but majority of women in this stage of life, the intensity of something like CrossFit, if you're like me and you're just wired to always push, is just another stress on your body when we've already become very sensitive to stress. So that's why and you don't need to spend hours of time in the gym to work on the strength training. So that's the good news here. Um, if you're someone who's coming from no activity, one of the best things to do is just start walking. And when going back into the sleep part of it, if you can get out to a morning walk routine, that's wonderful. Another great thing is walking after each time you eat. 10, 15 minutes. You don't need a lot, but it's looking for ways to get movement into your day. One of my practices when I'm out and about, I go to parking lots and I find the farthest parking space away from the door. So I have to walk. It's an intentional thing to get activity. Um, but at the end of the day, whatever you choose to do, make sure you enjoy it, because that in and of itself it's important. You've got to find something that lights you up, keep you moving and keep you motivating. Let me just go a little bit of detail about the strength training. This becomes really important, especially if you're someone who's struggling. I mean, the body loves to have muscle. It's what they call an expensive real estate to maintain. And that helps your metabolism. So when you have the more lean body mass you have, the better your metabolism is running, because you're giving it the right stimulus in the whole 9 yards. The other thing that's really important about the strength training, and I've even experienced this myself, is the fact that with the loss of estrogen, our connective tissue tends to soften up, and that's when a lot of the joint aches and pains might start moving in. But when you start implementing that strength training, it's signaling to your body that it needs to maintain that stuff. So, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know. I mean, I love being strong, bottom line. And it's just start small. If you don't have a strength training program, you can do body weight stuff. You don't have to have equipment. You can start doing push-ups. You can't do it on the floor. You can do it on a wall. There's burpees. Burpees are a wonderful thing. It's just get out on the ground and you get back up. There's all kinds of things that you can do in your home just to get something started. Another important thing to think about during this stage of life also is we've been taught that, oh, you can exercise on an empty stomach. I'm going to challenge you to, if you're someone who does that, to experiment with not doing it on an empty stomach. I mean, it can be so simple as just having 15 to 20 grams of protein with 10 to 15 grams of a healthy carb to get you out the door, or if you're doing it in the morning or whatever. But just make sure that you've got something on your stomach. Because again, this goes back to you're putting stress on the body that you don't need at this stage of life. And just having that little bit of nutrient in your system triggers to your body that it doesn't need to use itself to get the energy. And I think that's the key part here is we want to avoid causing our body to use itself for energy. So that leads me to the next thing is our nourishment. We women, and I've done this myself, tend to undereat. We overexercise and undereat. If you are not fueling yourself at a level appropriate for your activity level, then your body is going to use itself for fuel. And what it takes is your muscle. And we're already going to automatically lose muscle if we don't work with it just in day-to-day life. So you don't want to exacerbate that process when, it's something so simple as just eating more calories. So all that to say that you want to make sure that your caloric intake at least is matching your activity levels. And that's where a lot of women go wrong is they're exercising and they're decreasing their caloric intake. For example, I worked with a woman. If she was doing 800 calories a day, she was having a good day. She was way under eating. It was really, really bad. Like under 1200 is bad. Yeah. So she was having a lot of stomach problems. And I'm pretty sure it's just because she was so under eating and she was active. She's a mom. She works as a nurse. So there was all kinds of things going on in her life. She had a lot of stress. So we built her back up to some normal levels of a caloric intake. Not only did it help her not have stomach pain anymore, because on top of it all, she was making better food choices. Her digestion got, we can say, restarted. Okay. So it's really important to fuel the body. The other thing that I like to tell people from a nourishment standpoint is the fact that if you look at the food choices that you're making, a good question to ask yourself, is this helping me build a healthy body, or is it going to lead to something less than that? And that all goes to food quality. Your quality choices are going to be food that is as close to nature as possible. That means your fresh fruits and vegetables, your farm raised or grass-fed and free-range chicken and stuff like that, your wild-caught fish. So you want to make sure that if you're someone who is choosing more of the factory processed stuff or laboratory stuff, that is not in a language that your body understands. So not only is it not fueling you efficiently, it is not something that the body recognizes to actually put it to good use, although I'm not sure it has a good use overall. So the natural foods are in a language that your body understands. And when you're choosing those fresh fruits and vegetables, you're going to be, they contain the fiber that lead to a healthy gut. And the more variety you have, the healthier your gut, and that leads to wonderful immune system, a strong immune system, and what else? Something else. Anyway, I'll come back to it. It'll come back to me. But so I'm going to go back to the movement and the nourishment a little bit. There was a woman I helped. Her name was Angela. She's a CrossFitter as well, and she reached a point where she wasn't really gaining strength anymore. And she was looking for better performance and she wanted to become a little bit more lean. So showing her how her food choices lead to better performance because now you have more energy. You have we had to increase her protein intake as well. A lot of people don't eat enough protein in some scenarios. She was able to improve her workouts and build her strength, and not that she was trying real hard, but she was actually over time able to lean out a little bit more. So she's a great example of, someone who was exercising regularly and really stopped seeing any gains after a certain point. And that was a direct correlation to the types of the number of calories that she was eating and some of her food choices, even though she overall ate pretty healthy. Protein was one of the areas that she was lacking. So one of the other things that I work with is nervous system type stuff. So we'll say stress levels. As I mentioned, there's some stress, you have some physical stresses and then we have some emotional stresses. In this day and age, most of us are in the fight or flight mode in a chronic condition. And when we're in chronic stress, the body is not operating optimally. As the example goes, if you're running away from the tiger, the body doesn't really care if you're able to fight off the infection and other things. And so it's really important to control the stress levels. So one of the ways I do that is with helping people with breath work. And that is actually I use Buteyko breathing method. And when I was going through that training, there was a whole section on menopausal women. And one of the studies that they had done is dysfunctional breathing, which chronic stress will lead to dysfunctional breathing. Hot flashes increase when you have dysfunctional breathing. So when they were able to put these breathing methods into practice, it was actually it decreased the hot flashes by, I think it was over 50%. But again, what I love about breath work is not only is it instantaneously can set you into a rest and digest state of, activates the parasympathetic system. It's something that you can do anywhere, anytime. And it's a method to help you get in touch with the signals that your body is sending to you on a continuous basis. I think that's one of the things that really inspires me in this journey is the fact that our bodies are very intelligent, but we have been programmed to stop listening to what the signals are that it's sending us. And when you fuel it and give it the materials it needs, it's going to create an environment that will carry you in a healthy, vibrant state throughout your life. And I tell people I'm on the 120-year plan. I don't know why. Sometimes. but but at the same time, I'm like, I want to feel good, and like until I die. So it motivates me to want to use the quality products in my body. It motivates me to want to pay attention to my breathing. Am I breathing in my upper chest, which is a sign of stress? Or am I activating my breath down into my belly? And that's when not only are we activating the parasympathetic nervous system, but that diaphragm moving up and down actually is a massage for your internal organs that help them run better. So there's so many things that the body does for us when we give it the right materials to do its work. And so just for really quick from a nervous system reset standpoint, is your best practice is to breathe in and out through your nose, believe it or not, even during exercise. So if you have to breathe through your mouth during exercise, you're probably pushing too hard, which is a really good thing. And then, or good note to make. And the more you practice breathing in and out through your nose, the stronger your cardiovascular system is going to become over time. So if you're able to do those exercises without mouth breathing, you're getting stronger in more ways than one. But what I was going to share was good practice as far as just kind of settling in is just settling in, and you don't have to close your eyes, but you can, if you're in a position where you want to close your eyes, and then just kind of pay attention. First of all, what that breath feels like going in. You can notice that it's cool. And when you breathe into the belly, and don't force it, it's just a gentle thing. And you hold it at the top. So you breathe in 4 seconds, hold it at the top for 4 seconds, and then release more slowly, like for a 6 second count. And when you do that just a few times, usually after 1 or 2 rounds, you're going to feel your body relax. And what I like to share with people is my last pillar that I work with is what I call restorative sound. And so I'm also a vibrational sound healing therapist. And I had to figure out a way to kind of integrate it into my program. So what I've come up with is the fact that we actually carry an instrument with us everywhere we go, and that's our voice. So we can hum. And humming is a form of vibrational sound healing. So when you combine that humming with that breath cadence that I shared with you, you're going to be able to bring deep relaxation to your body no matter where you are, which to me is a very powerful thing. And it's another sign that we have everything we need within ourselves. And when we use nature in a way to support us, we can be healthy and vibrant at every stage. I'm one of these, mindset is a really big piece of everything. And I don't accept the fact that we have to accept deterioration in old age. Now, I do know that, with time, things aren't going to run optimally, but why not work in ways that's going to put that off as long as possible? And that's kind of where I'm coming from is, I'm 62. And I probably feel better at 62 than I did at 48, because that's when I was going through all that crazy perimenopausal stuff. And it's when I started fueling my body properly and getting the right kind of exercise and getting out in nature and really soaking up the sun and touching the ground and hugging a tree and all these wonderful things that nature brings to us without even trying, I'm sure is my key to longevity in my experience. So I don't really know what else to say. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So also from a sound therapy standpoint is there are, if you're someone who's working in a high stress job and you have the ability to put on some music in the background, pick some musical pieces, instrumental pieces that can be very calming to the nervous system. So there are things that you don't even have to be paying attention to. Nature sounds. If you can play nature sounds, I just think about a bubbling brook and how calming that is. I mean, I can just feel it just thinking about it. So you can actually create a serene environment within your mind when you're in those chaotic times. So there's many things that you can do. A piece of music that I was introduced to when I was studying the Ayurveda is something called the rain melody. It's available on YouTube. And that is a really great piece of music to listen to. It's got nature sounds and some instruments and stuff like that. And it's scientifically shown to bring you into some very deep relaxation without even really trying very hard. So it's a great piece to listen to before bed. And it's actually something, if you pick up the giveaway that we have associated with this event, the 5 pillar reset guide that I have in there actually has a link to that particular music piece. The other thing that I do have in my program is something called voice analysis, and I have a piece of equipment that will I'll ask a few questions, and it measures the notes that's coming out in your voice. And what it does is then I can give you pieces of music. If you have deficient notes, that will help increase the notes. If you have excessive notes, it will help decrease the notes. So it's a really another way to bring balance within the body, along with these other practices. Nourishment is one of those other things that helps bring balance into the body. Practicing nervous system, decreasing stress helps bring balance into the body. So I guess the bottom line is I work with helping to bring balance back in the body. Symptoms are a sign something's out of balance. So it's a matter of finding what tools will help bring back your balance. So just to wrap things up, if I were to give you 3 action steps, I think I have 4 actually. So here's some action steps if you want to walk away with today. All this that I shared, you can do it. You can do it today. Start with a consistent bedtime. Sleep is your cornerstone for health. It is you can have the best diet in the world, you can have the best exercise program in the world, but if you're circumventing your sleep, it's not maximizing the benefits that you're getting from those other activities. So work on your sleep. um, Hydration, didn't really talk a lot about hydration, but that is also an important key in the nutrition and just keeping the body running optimally. I can't remember. It depends on what you read, 70 to 80% water. We need that water. Hydration practice that I use on a daily basis is that's one of the first things I drink first thing in the morning. I like my water warm, but you can do room temperature. And what I like to do, because I do filtered water, so I got to put some minerals and stuff back in it. So I use just a pinch of Celtic sea salt and use lemon or lime juice, organic, of course, and put that in about 12 ounces of water and drink that down before I have my morning coffee. And another thing to do is if you're someone who skips breakfast, breakfast really sets a tone for the day. So I highly recommend coming up with a breakfast that is balanced. So it's going to have a lean protein source, some fresh fruits or vegetables, and a few nuts or some other healthy fats just to start your day. And you're going to find that you're going to be less hungry, you'll have less energy, or excuse me, you'll have more energy throughout the day just by having a healthy breakfast to start your day rather than a coffee and a donut or something crazy like that. Um, but if you've learned nothing else from this, I encourage you to really start paying attention to what your body's telling you. And that's going back to the breathing, just paying attention to your breathing. How are you breathing? Are you all tensed up all the time? I mean, I still have old habits that I have to like relax my shoulders just from the stress that I've been under all my life. You start to build habits of how you're holding your body. And it's like, no, I don't need to be doing that. So it's just paying attention to your body, listen to what it's telling you, and ask yourself, are you doing this because I want, I have to, or is it just because it's easy? Or is there something else that the body's asking for that, you might have to take a few extra moments to prepare, one of those healthy meals that I've talked about, from fresh foods? Or are you just doing the fast food because it's simple and you don't really want to have to think about it? I encourage you to take care of the vehicle that you've been blessed with because um, uh, it's got a lot of wisdom. And yeah, I so take care of it because that's how we have a healthy, vibrant, full life until it's our time. So, oh, one last thing. I do have a special gift for everybody. Um, I am going to offer a 60-minute consultation with me. And if you mention voice analysis, I normally charge $85 for the voice analysis, but I will give it to you free when you book your call and mention voice analysis. So let me grab those links or the link.
And would you be willing to take any questions? Because I know I have a burning question.
Okay. Yes. Questions.
Okay. So you said that we can use our breath, and you said that you thought it was a good idea to always breathe in and out of your nose.
Mhm,
Now, I know there's lots of different ways, but I know when
mhm,
people go into the emergency room, nurses almost always say, breathe in your nose and out your mouth
mhm,
as a way to calm people down.
mhm.
Why do you suggest that we, even when exercising, because a lot of times my mouth opens when I run on the beach.
Um, that was something I learned through Buteyko breathing, but I also had heard, as far as the exercise goes, I was introduced to that. I think his name is Jeff or Jim Nestor, wrote a book called Breathe or Breath or something like that. But even in there, he wrote about the breathing, keeping the when you're exercising, always through your nose. And then when I take that back, there's another man, I'm not going to remember his name right now, but there's another guy that was coming from the Ayurvedic standpoint. The nose is your filtration system.
Okay.
It also creates nitric oxide, I believe. But there's chemical reactions that are happening as air filters through your nasal passages. So it's it just helps. I think that the nitric oxide, if I remember correctly, actually helps dilate blood vessels and stuff like that. So it really does create more efficiency over time. And from the Ayurvedic standpoint, it goes back to the comment that I made with when you are breathing, when you end up having to breathe in and out through your mouth when you're exercising, it is a sign that you're doing more than your body can handle. Now, we're not talking about elite athletes, all right? There's going to be a threshold where you can't help it. But for us mere mortals, it's a good habit to get into. It takes practice. It doesn't mean that it's going to be horrible if you do it. It's just something to be cognizant of. As far as the other breathing practice through the mouth, I'm not going to say that there's anything wrong with breathing out through your mouth, but from a Buteyko standpoint, there's something about the it's the carbon dioxide buildup that signals when we breathe. So when we're too sensitive to it, we're going to breathe more quickly. And I believe that and I might be wrong, but if I'm remembering correctly, because this one's kind of challenging me, is I believe that keeping everything in and out through the nose helps decrease your carbon dioxide sensitivity so that you stay calmer longer. But that's not to say that they're telling you something wrong in the emergency room. It's just from a different motivating standpoint, I guess, is a good way. But Buteyko breathing, that was created by a doctor who actually observed the fact that people that are in hospital and stuff breathe really shallow, breathe real quick. And it's just with his studies, that's just the way excuse me, that's the method that it came up with. But yeah, there's all kinds of them out there. This just happens to be one of them. So,
And you mentioned that, sleep is a foundation for handling all the menopause symptoms and things like that. Do you have any other particular tips just for particular symptoms?
um, the whole food choices is one of them. The more healthy, it's not one of those things that you need. I'm one of these, you shouldn't be afraid of carbs. We actually need them. It's just what kind are you choosing? The ones coming from Mother Nature, yay. They're the ones you want to choose. Those are the great carbs. And so we need them. It's those processed and ultra processed carbs that are going to contribute to the you know, with all the other menopausal symptoms, they're gonna increase the intensity of them. So I say, and protein, we really need the protein. But yeah, the person I work with a nutrition coach just because I need that accountability partner. And I like what they say is the fact that it's eating the right food combinations at the right time that brings the balance about. So it's nice healthy balance between proteins, carbs, and healthy fats. So yeah.
I want to open this up for any other particular questions that people um, have. I know you have ways to deal with people's hot flashes. So, do you have anything that I know breath does that, but anything else?
Another yeah, there's a you can use aloe vera juice. And that is, you would want to choose it from the inner fillet, and it can be taken in the morning, like start with a quarter of a cup, because if I'm remembering, it can cause loose stools in some people. So you kind of have to build up. You could get up to a half a cup, but after about, you shouldn't be taking it more than 6 weeks, but that can be done 1 or 2 times a day and for about 4 to 6 weeks. And that is a really wonderful natural way to help alleviate hot flashes. But a lot of times it's just you making sure you're dealing with the stress aspect. So I can go back to our giveaway that we have associated with this is that I do have a breath work um, handout in there that will walk you through some breath work stuff for dealing with stress. Um, but again, it goes back to having the right balance of healthy food choices. The closer to nature that the food comes from, the better off the body. It's going to put the body back into balance, which will help alleviate a lot of the symptoms, at least diminish them in many, many ways. So, anybody else?
Everyone's being very quiet.
They're
You can come on camera too.
probably waiting for Dr. Mort's presentation on anger.
So I know that you say that you're on a 120-year plan, and I love that.
Mhm.
Um, and we have a health extension specialist in the house, you know. But I was wondering, in menopause, with all the changes that people go through and everything like that, um, can you speak to how during that hormonal balance difficulty you
Mhm.
can actually continue to get healthier and live a longer life?
I'm going to sound like a broken record. um, that just, it goes back to setting yourself up for success through proper sleep. Um, the food choices are huge. They're huge as far as this, at any stage, but the food choices are a huge part of this stage too. Um, movement is important. As I mentioned, the body's made to move and being outside. I think we've lost touch with being outside so much. I really feel that that's part of the problem in today's society is we spend so much time in artificial environments and we need nature to connect with. It helps settle the nervous system. The sun helps us create vitamin D. We make vitamin D when we're in the sun. but we spend so much time inside and everyone's relying on synthetic stuff that I think it's not supporting the body optimally. So the more we can do that, kind of return back to, and I know it's hard because we're in offices all day long, but it's just looking for those little things, you know, getting up and getting into the morning light, going to for walks, after your lunch at the office, just get outside, and if you have time, 5 minutes is better than no minutes. It's just looking for those little um moments that you can steal away to just get out and experience the outdoor world a little bit more than what we have been programmed to do. And visit your farmers markets. If you can't grow your own food, farmers markets.
Or community supported culture. And for America, they you can get the produce from your local farms at your door, right? They deliver it, or you can pick it up at a central location. So do check that out. I think that's a exciting part of it. But if no one else has any other questions, would it be all right, Cindy, if we asked Dr.
Mhm.
Orman to talk to us about how to deal with anger?
Absolutely.
Now, I always think that women are taught not to be angry. So by the time they get to have hormonal imbalances, they're pretty rageful. So I am just so happy that you were able to take the time out to help women with that difficult situation. So
Happy to be
you,
here. Thank you for inviting me.
thank you.
Are we going to do a presentation style or interview style?
We can do interview or presentation. I thought you were going to do a presentation, but if not, I love to ask questions about it.
Okay, why don't you fire away? We'll do interview style because that's what I was prepared for. So,
Okay. So, in how should I put it? I gave a good intro, I think, in the fact that women over time are taking care of the family and the, community and themselves and maybe not themselves. So, how do people deal with the anger that they have really deep inside?
well, I think uh, in general we have a problem, obviously, in our society. I mean, all you have to do is turn on the television or scroll social media, and you can see a lot of angry people, a lot of people who are not able to control their emotions very well. Things build up very easily. We get triggered very easily. This is true for men and women. It's not exclusively one gender or another. So we have a big problem in our society today with emotions in general, anger in particular. And a lot of it is because we haven't really been educated properly. The things we've been taught how to understand our emotions are not really accurate. And so we've got bad models for understanding our emotions, which makes it hard for us to take control of our emotional states. I mean, it's one of the things our body gets triggered and we have an emotion. And it looks to us like that's all that's going on. It's the one causing two, a direct cause effect relationship. And that's how we grow up. That's what our common sense tells us. That's what everybody reinforces around us. Oh, you made me angry, or this made me angry, or some triggering event, set me off or whatever it is. And it happens also, you can happen with your own body. I mean, you can uh, be in a more irritable state through hormonal changes or through not getting proper sleep or just being hungry. And it can make you more susceptible to being irritated, to being angry. But so there are outside triggers, and then there's a state of our body at any moment when that happens, which contributes, and maybe makes us more prone to being irritated, more